everyone, welcome to our Claris FileMaker training course on how to build a custom CRM in 30 days. This training is designed primarily for beginners or those of you who need kind of a refresher with the Claris FileMaker platform. Over the course of 30 days, we're going to spend about an hour each day covering topics from the very basics of the Claris FileMaker platform in terms of the tools, the products, deployment, security, all those things you need to know about as you build a custom application. So keep in mind that towards the beginning of the training, the topics are more basic in nature. And as we get towards the end of the training, they're somewhat more advanced. I would say probably intermediate level topics. Now keep in mind this special part of this training is that while we're not only talking about the FileMaker platform, we're talking how you can rapidly customize an existing free CRM that you can download today. It's unlocked. So taking that CRM and customizing it to your organization's particular needs. Now, a couple important links to keep in mind. One is that if you need a copy of FM Starting Point, the free Unlock CRM, visit fmstartingpoint.com and press the button. And then our system will shoot you an email with the current links to that CRM. If you're looking for additional FileMaker training, visit fmtraining.tv and press the bundles button. And that will allow you to get more of this highly animated and somewhat energetic training material to help you through the learning process with the Claris FileMaker platform. Lastly, if you have questions about the FileMaker platform or you're looking for some additional help, maybe some one-on-one coaching help, feel free to email us at support@rcconsulting.com. Today's broadcast is going to be an awesome follow-up from fmtraining.tv. fmtraining.tv, where you learn the most about FileMaker every day. Today is going to be briefly talk about script parameters. We've been talking about them loosely already. We're going to kind of close that conversation a little bit. And then we're going to dive into a practical exercise on FM Starting Point because we had one of the folks that are here watching the training, kind of more of this beginner intermediate level person, and they're trying to adapt FM Starting Point for the medical business, the medical profession kind of stuff. And so there's this question about script triggers. So we've been talking about script triggers for the last several days. Script triggers are automatic ways of telling a script to fire, telling a little program in your FileMaker interface to fire. That's a script trigger. The two most common uses that I see of script triggers are one, to manage field validation or manage a little bit of user interface, which mostly is field validation. And the other one is custom navigation, doing extra navigational things based upon the situation. And so we're going to show the second item today, but I want to talk, because this came up yesterday, and it was so funny. I said yesterday, those of you who remember the conversation, that if you go into FileMaker, and this is so funny. So if you're actually here today, I don't know who you are. I'm not picking on you, but I'm simply making the case that when I say something on the show, I'm not making it up for my personal amusement, right? Everything I'm telling you is the real, okay? It's where the rubber meets the road. Despite all the other marketing and hooey that you've seen, this is where reality lands, okay? So yesterday I said, if you're in FileMaker, and you go to File, and you go to Manage, and you go to Database. This is where you manage your tables right here. It's where you manage the fields. These are where you manage relationships. We've talked about these things at great length. If you go into Fields and you create a new field called Widget, okay? And I say create the field, okay? And you hit the Options button right down here in the bottom right. Auto enter options are super useful. They're used all the time at great length. We use storage to tell the system whether it's a global field or not. That's as far as you have to go as a beginning or intermediate developer. This is kind of more intermediate to advanced kind of conversation down here. I'm not going to bother with that. This is if you're in Japan, I think, right? And so validation, I notice I skipped that. Really great. This one here is really great. This one is getting really great. This one is great if you're in Japanese. This one here sucks. This is the warning. You're in a horse and buggy. You know, right? And if you want to, so my suggestion is don't use a horse and buggy. But this right here is horse and buggy. It sucks. So there's a conversation and Claris is on one of the forums today, and actually a forum that's supposed to be for more advanced people. And the person is complaining that the values in this system in using this over here creates unpredictable and not easy to manage results in terms of user experience. It's been that way. If you use FileMaker all the time, you play with this, then you run into problems with it, and you realize that this is not great. You should manage field validation by using a script trigger, which means that if you're in the database and you type something in over here, then as you leave this field or you leave this section, a script should magically automatically run, right? Activated by a script trigger. It should run a script that says, is this correct? And if it's not correct, do these specific things, right? That's precision user experience, precisely controlling what the user will see, not accidentally running into it. The other system, the validation, will pop up when you least expect it. I mean, if you use it every day for 5 years, you'll probably get really good at it, but why bother with that when you can precisely control when your script runs, right? The auto enter validation will stab you in the back. It's like a big ass knife in the back, like some sort of murder mystery. Hey, there's a dead guy on the floor with a knife sticking out of his back. That's you using that validation dialogue. So I just thought I'd point out, I had this conversation yesterday. I wasn't going to bring it up again, but then some person in a fairly advanced area in ETS went, yeah, I was using the commit script step, fine. And in the commit script step, if I go over here and I find this commit script step, doesn't really matter. It's called commit. It's basically save the data that I've edited a bunch of data. Now save it to the hard drive, save it to the server. Well, if you put commit right here, it has with dialog on or off, but really it has this checkbox, skip data entry validation. Well, normally I always turn that on. That way, if for some reason there's a validation turned on in that other ancient horse-drawn buggy carriage system, this doesn't fire some unknown behavior. Well, the person was turning on validation, then they said, no, I want the validation to be enforced at all times. So they do that, then out of the blue, they have scripts that'll fire, throwing dialogue, and the person wasn't even there at that spot editing it. Here's the thing, if you're right here and I type some stuff, I say something like Kyle works at, and I'm about to put something, but then I put something that I shouldn't put, right? And then if script pops as warning, Richard, you can't say that. Then it makes sense because I'm working on it right there. It's giving me a warning, or maybe a red X comes in here, or maybe this changes colors. It alerts me that there's some sort of problem. This other system, you could actually tab through, keep tabbing, tab here, put some data, tab over here, put some data here, be scrolled off the screen on the right side, then that script fires and it has a validation that you set over here, and it's like coming back to a conversation from a year ago. You have no idea what it's talking about. That's why it's so old. It doesn't allow you to precisely control the experience. So I'm done with that. I just thought I would point out, I told you so, okay? And the person was complaining that it sucked. Yes, we know, okay? Let's talk today. So 2 things that script triggers can trigger a script that does anything. You could actually have a script that fires a nuclear missile out of a ballistic missile submarine, okay? True statement. That could happen, okay? Would you use FileMaker to run a ballistic missile submarine? Probably not, because there's the fine print on the FileMaker license says you're not allowed to do nuclear stuff with FileMaker. Otherwise, you violate the terms of the use of the product. While that's kind of an extreme example, most people use script triggers for validation, 1, and 2 for controlling navigation. So I've talked about validation the last 2 days. We did a bunch of demos on it on Monday. So today we're going to do is we're going to actually walk through a real example of a situation courtesy of Dan. So Dan's floating around. I'm not going to really interact with Dan too much here on screen because it's really not about, I took Dan's scenario and Dan will be helped by this conversation. But at this moment, I'm not really trying to help Dan. I'm trying to help educate all of you because all of you are going to run into this issue one way or the other. So the issue is, so Dan starts, or you start, or anyone starts with a copy of FM Starting Point. So he starts with a copy of FM Starting Point. He's going to build a thing for a whatever. Okay. In his case, it's a medical laboratory management system. It could be teacher ed education. It could be anything. It could be a system for tracking people who adopt rescue animals, rescue dogs, rescue cats, right? It could be a vet clinic. Who knows? So Dan, once again, we'll use this term generically, but he's a developer. He gets Starting Point. he has he's identifying, he has to identify the tables that he wants to work with. Starting point comes with contacts, it comes with invoices, projects, things like that. Well, invoices don't really make sense in this doctor environment because they'll do billing out of a different system, but they're trying to track the patient's kind of status, things like that. So they definitely have contacts. Now this gets to a conversation we've had on and off over the last 30 days or so, because we're kind of, this 30-day thing is going to come to an end over the next 10 days or so. The conversation is always about what are the tables that you have in your system? What are the entities? How do you build a relational database? Well, relational database is based upon these tables. And if you have a business, you have a customers, you might have vendors. In a business, the vendors, like if you're Walmart, they have a very complex system, but let me simplify it. They have a store. As a store is a list of stores are a table called stores. They got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stores worldwide. Then they have vendors who sell them product. You have local dairies that make milk for them. Milk, right? Milk makes the body good or whatever. Cows love milk. Great, real cheese comes from California if it's woke cheese, right? Shit like that, right? So the whole idea is that they are going to have vendors that are going to supply them data at that store, or they might supply it to the distribution warehouse, but you're creating tables. So you have vendor table, you might have a customer table, you might have a store table, you definitely have product table. It's actually pretty elaborate in the case of Walmart. That being said, you get kind of the idea. We're trying to create tables for these groups. Well, in this case, the developer decides, and you could play that, you could go either way with this, that doctors and patients and other people are all people, so they should all go in contacts. Two ways of handling it is that you have separate contact table for each one, or you can have one contact table and you separate it out. So for today, we're going to go with that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what Dan decided to do, which is fine. And but then you have this extra complication of making sure that you're on the correct screen, because we're going to create a data entry screen. So here's the catch. Contacts table, but three major classifications of people that are in there. Doctors that are in there, physicians, patients, people who need doctors, and others, whatever those are. Maybe a representative from Bayer Pharmaceutical going to come in there and sell you their coag agent for people who are hemophiliacs who bleed. So such a big group of people, maybe one of you, if you cut, it's a dangerous situation because most of us get scabs. It stops bleeding on its own, probably, unless it's a giant knife wound from your validation screen. People who are hemophiliacs bleed out forever unless you do something to stop it, and there's medications that stop it. I know this because I've worked with Bayer Pharmaceutical. So Bayer Pharmaceutical would be another vendor contact. So he wants to create one table, copy a starting point, three different data entry screens, and it has to go to the right screen at the right time. So a couple things come up. So I met with Dan a little bit ago before the show started, and I kind of interrogated him to make sure I was very clear on what his challenges were. So he took a copy of FM Starting Point. I have a copy of his file here. There's nothing secret in it yet. If I double click and open it up, it magically looks like Starting Point, okay? So what I want to do over here is that he said, well, I've got these contacts, but really it's going to be patients, physicians, and others. So what I want to do first is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to rapidly bang this stuff out. So I'm going to go to contacts. I have physicians and patients, and I need one more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say physicians are right here. We're going to make physicians going to be blue, okay? And I'm going to hide the left pane right now, so it's easier. So this is physicians. If I scroll, once again, if I'm in layout mode, I hit the scroll. This doesn't move records, it moves layout, super handy. The next layout down is patients. I'm going to go to patients here. So if you're any of you colorblind, I do apologize. So we got physicians are blue, patients are green, and I'm going to duplicate the layout and call it layout setup. I'm going to give it 300 echo, and it's going to be called other. So this is the other group of people. And so patients might have their patient identifying information in there, etc. So the information is going to be a little different, right? Once again, date collected, these are patient data here, but I'm going to, this is the other one. So I'm going to get rid of this, and it's, we call it other contacts. whatever, right? Something like that. And then I'm going to make the color a different color. I'm going to make it a puke orange or something really horrible. Okay, so we know that we're there. Okay, I'm going to go to File, Manage, Layouts right here. I'm going to take this 300D right here, Patient. I'm going to move it up to, I'm in Mouse Layouts. I want to go to Contacts. So 300. Okay, let me move this over. So we should see Patients. Copy, there's 300D. So what I want to do is I'm going to make it echo. So I can say, so when you're on this window right here, I forget this window even exists sometimes. You can go in and rapidly rename things. So it's E there. It says layout name is echo there. Oh, now it updated. Was it just me or did they both say D for a second? Did I say two Ds there? Anyone else see that besides me? It looked like it was a, yeah.
It looked like it. No, I agree.
It didn't. That was a bug in FileMaker. Welcome to a FileMaker bug. So it took it a second, and then it went, oh yeah, you changed it. Oh, I know why, because I changed it, and I never went back to. I was in layout mode here, and I changed it, but I hadn't gone back to browse mode, so it didn't save it. When you're in layout mode and you make a bunch of edits, they don't save until you go back to browse mode. Okay, and that's why it didn't update there. So we got B, D, and E. We got physicians, patients, and other. They are different colors. If I flip over, if I go to layout mode, we got that color, we got that color, we got that color. So now they're all using the same table. So now if we're on the home screen, I'm going to do this really quick for all of you. So this is going to be physicians. Okay. I'm going to say that one. I'm going to get rid of estimates. He doesn't need estimates. If he doesn't need estimates, I'll just move it over here. I'm going to duplicate patients. I'm going to say these are going to be, or physicians, I'm going to say patients. Now this was the green one, right? So what I want to do is I'm just going to, for the moment, I'm going to set this up to be a different color like that. And then I'm going to take products and move that over there. I'm going to duplicate it, and this will be other, okay? Now, I'm not, once again, you're saying, well, why didn't you build it this other way or whatever? That's not the point. The point is that we're assuming you have the logical reason for having this be driven by one table with different found sets. So what you're going to do on each of these is you're going to have a script that goes to that layout that performs a find, right? That's that kind of idea where you're going to try to control the found set. So I'm going to say other, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to say orange, okay? So I'm going to go to script workspace. I'm going to go to navigation. I got to go to contact, but I really want, this was the old code in here. I commented out. I'm not going to bother looking at it. It's still there if we need it. I'm going to say this one is going to go to, this is physicians. Okay, great. I'm going to save that. In fact, this is an opportunity to go for us to demonstrate a script parameter. Margaret has a PDF today on script parameters. Script parameters are little messages that you can pass to the script or the script passes back to you, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate that today. We're going to say to go to context. We're going to leave it as contacts. What we're going to say, however, is that when the physician executes, it can pass down here an optional string of text, an optional string of text. So this we were playing with this before when we were doing script triggers, and we would cancel or approve the script trigger to go forward. When a script sends a message back to you backwards, it's called a script result. If you're sending a message to a script before it executes, that's a script parameter, right? So before it executes, you're sending a request. It should be like a script request, or script info for execution. Parameters like, But then script result really makes sense. The script is done. Here's the result, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say physicians with an S, okay? That's going to be the script parameter that we're going to send. So we're going to call script 0302, go to contacts, pass physicians. If we have patients, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to double click, go to 302. The parameter I'm going to pass is patients, okay? So now you could take this too far, to be honest with you, where you could put everything in one script and just pass a parameter that tells the script what to do. There's always a happy medium to everything in the world, right? So So each of these is going to call the same script. They pass a parameter. So this is a script over here. When the script starts to run, we need to say if it's a certain thing, do this, right? And then if it's a certain thing, do this. If it's a certain thing, do this. So what I'm going to do is for code-wise, I'm going to keep this super simple for all of you right now. To check the script parameter that was set to this script, right? It only can be one for each script. You can say get script parameter, okay? And so this is going to contain that word, whatever that word is over here, physicians, patient, or other. It should anyway, right? So if I say if it contains patients, right? And then once again, there's no specific order to this. It doesn't particularly matter. I'm going to say go to layout. In fact, I already have it right there. So I'd say go to layout. I'll move that up here. I want to go to the patient one. Patient right there. Make it a little bigger. Hit OK. Hide show toolbar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to exit the script. Okay. Now, I could do nested stuff, but once again, these are for more beginners, right? Not for the people largely on Discord, more the beginner folks on Zoom. I'm going to say, I'm going to have this block of code. I like it. It makes sense. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to hit Command D or duplicate it. I'm going to put a couple returns. So it says, if it's it, do this, and then it stops. It stops right here, so it'll never keep going, okay? So it's going to run through this until it finds something it likes, and then it exits the script. This one will be, you can already tell where this is going to go, physicians. So I'm going to tell it to go to the physicians right here, which is misspelled. Doesn't matter, it's a layout name. And then I'm going to duplicate the code again. So once again, I'm making this code very simple, but so the script can have like, there was a book, a kind of book when you were a kid, when I was a kid. These days it's a video game, but it was called Choose Your Own Adventure book. So you're reading a book, and it's a child's book. It's for like 5th graders and 6th graders and 4th graders. And you're reading the book, and at the bottom of the page, it has an if statement. It says, there's a dragon. It's a bad looking dragon. It's red. It's breathing fire. And at the bottom, it says, if you fight the dragon with a sword, go to page 5. If you want to run from the dragon, go to page 6. So you go to 5 or 6, and the story continues. It branches. It's a logical choice that you make in flight. That's what this is. This is a choose your own adventure script from late 70s, early 80s. Okay. Physicians, other. Okay. And this would go to the other script. Okay. Now, here's the problem that we have immediately, right? Is that if I go over here, right, it should probably have a found set to show you what the patients are, right? Because remember, if it goes there, all these records are magically scrambled into one table, right? We're dealing with one table, right? And so what we need to do is actually, I mean, we could test this. We probably should test it. Why don't we do that first? Let me go to browse mode. Let's see if any of this works. Physician. That worked. Physician. Home screen. Patients. Green. I got green. That's good. And then how about other? Oh my God, I'm in love. Now, if it doesn't do any of those, I'm not sure what it does. You'd have to, if you were going to write a really good script, your script would have to tell it what to do if it met none of those. Now, the problem is I could be over here on physicians, patients, or other, okay? The problem is it could be, the found set could be anything, right? So what you want to do is you want to, because the records are just kind of sprayed in there, right? Because remember, as we put records into contacts over here, remember all the patients and physicians, they're all going into contacts right here. If I go to fields, it's going to input the records here in the order they're created. So it's not necessarily the patients will be at the front or and the doctors will be at the back, the physicians at the back. It's going to be the order that they were entered. You could do a sort, but you know, I mean, what you need to do is basically restrict the found set. So let's do that real quick. It won't take long. So before it exits, I want to say enter find mode. And I'm going to do this once, and then I'm going to copy the code. Enter find mode, pause off. Set field, F-I-E-L-D. And I have a field that I defined in the table called type of contact. I helped Dan with this. We wanted to make sure we had a I have to be in the right table though. Contacts. There we go. Contacts. And I want type of contact. And so it's going to be equal to, we're going to set it to, and I don't put the equals in here. That's assumed, right? I'm going to say, the first one I'm doing is that patient. So this is patients. Okay, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to perform the find. And now I'm going to say if get, this is error capture, right? So up here, error capture is turned on up here. We haven't talked about this too much, but we want to, if there are no patients, it should do something, right? So let's say if, right? If the get last error equals, if it equals 0, that means there's no error, right? If it actually, so we'll say if it doesn't equal 0, it means there's a problem. It probably means there's no matching records. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say beep, okay? And I'm going to say show custom dialog, and I'm going to say error, there are no patients. And of course, you have to spell it correctly. Patients. There we go. And yeah, it's like, okay. Or you could say bummer, right? That's very sad. Okay. There we go. So we got that done. Then at the end of that, we would say, go back to the original layout, whatever the original layout was. So I'm going to say go, because we don't want to leave them there because they'd be on a screen with no records. So we're going to say, go back to the layout. We'll say the original layout. The original layout was a layout that was in existence when we started the script. So go back to the original layout that was being displayed when the script started. Okay, perfect. Then it exits. So once again, this has kind of got the error capture. So this is like the self-contained block here. What we want to do is I'm going to go and save it. I'm going to come over here. I don't know if we actually have any patients yet. I can press the button. Ah, there are no patients. Bummer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually control the mouse. I'm going to go to contacts. I'm going to go to patients. It doesn't particularly matter. And this is, you can tell the layout is in production. So Dan has been working on the layout. Here's the field right here. It's called contact type. It's right here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to stick it on the other layouts so they have it, right? And then I'm going to, that way it's everywhere. Now you would find a nice way of displaying this and not, having a moment with it. So I will say, command find, show all records. Ryan Alvarez is a physician. Dan Robinson is a patient. And if I create a new record, it will be Ed Burkle, Ed B-E-R K-E-L. One of each of these. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say, so we know that the error condition functioned correctly. So by the way, the hover state, notice it changes. You can change the color of that hover state. That's just another a setting in there. I say other, it finds the person, pretty great. So this script is working. I wrote the code correctly. I'm going to take this code right here. Actually, I'm going to take this code right here. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to slide it down here to right here. And then the error message is right here. It has to say something about physicians. Physicians. Got it. Great. So once again, I'm sure in the Discord, I'm sure like, well, can't you like write this with less lines of code and stuff? I'm writing this to be as simple as possible for beginners to understand. So I understand some of you probably are saying like, well, couldn't you write this with like and embed this in like an else script and all sorts of stuff? Yeah, but I'm trying to make this so when I'm gone here and I'm done for the day, Dan can go back and work on this and he's not horrifically confused. The goal is for me not to confuse the living shit out of everyone, right? I think that the people who are beginners here probably kind of get that to a point. Hopefully they do. But that's the goal, right? So is it other singular? Okay, so you got other, that's singular. Right here will be other. So this will make sure the rest of this is working correctly. But then there is going to be a problem here is where we get to the navigation with a script trigger, right? There are no others. Fix that. All right, cool. So now we're set. We're going to save it. Hopefully it didn't botch too bad. I'm not, good bug testing. Let me just say this for everyone real quick. And everyone's prone to this. Good bug testing means you test every permutation here. I tested the air condition for other. I'm not going to test the air condition for patient and physician. I should do that. If I was a quality developer, sometimes the developers are just happy to get to work, and then they get to work, it's like Miller time, and they get a big, tall, frosty adult beverage, and they're good. And then they come back the next day and they forget to test that scenario. But you really should check all 6 of these permutations. So we're going to check the one error. I'm now going to check the other 3 ones to see if they work. So what I want to do, I'm going to say physicians. I get the one physician in the found set. Go to home. I'm going to say patient. I get the one patient in the found set. I go to home. I get other in the found set. So now this is working. Now here is my problem, okay? Here is my problem. If I have another new record, I come over here and I say new record. Probably since I'm on other contacts, it should auto enter to other. You could logically write an if statement that would take care of that. I'm going to say Margs, and I'm going to say Smith, Marg Smith, her new super name, Smith, or HiQ, Marg's HiQ. There we go. That's even better. So you got Mark's IQ in here, right? Now, the problem is that if I do a find over here for everyone with the letter S or something, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a real quick import so I get some more data here. And I'm going to say, go into all available. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to say open. I'm going to add new records. I'm going to, this is first. Down, hit return, last hit return. That's enough data right there. Okay, so I'm going to say import. Now I've got 500 records in here, so I got a bunch of bogus data in here, which is great. So now what I can do is I can say physician, and I can, let's see, if I omit a bunch of these, I'm going to do a quick omit, flip. Okay, I'm going to say fit, and I'm going to do replace on that. What I'm doing is I'm just creating some fake data. And then if I go to flip the found, you can flip the found set by clicking the record control. So right now the found set's 20. If I want to invert it, it's like I want to flip upside down and fly upside down. I hit that. Now I've snapped the found set inverted, okay? A bunch of these will be patients, patient data, whatever. And then patient data. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, I'm going to find all the ones that are patient, and I'm going to say omit, new record request, find all the physicians and omit. So I should have patient, physician omit, patient omit. That finds everyone else who are blank. I'm going to set them to other, which is 479, replace. So now I've got 504 records, which all have data in it. Here is the problem that you're going to run to. If I did a find over here for something, okay, here's S, okay, I have 61 records. I don't know if these are all going to be others over here or if any of these are going to be someone else. If I'm flipping down here and I'm looking to see what this is, I could take this field and go to the list view and take a look at it on the list view, which would be probably useful. I'll go to list view. I'm going to get rid of the account name for the time being. I'll leave the email. I'm going to put that in there, but what I'll do is I will make it instead of a radio button, I just did a radio button to show you something different. I'm going to change it back to a text box, a edit box. So it's just basic on screen. So it'll tell us what they are. So if I go to browse mode, I got all these others on here, and then there's physicians down here, right? There you go. So that is the danger, Will Robinson, danger. That was the part I was concerned about, right? Let's see, turn that all off, browse mode. So that was what I was worried about, because if I'm over here, right, I'm over here, I'm on other, click, oh, it's not working. We'll have to fix that. Actually, we could fix that real quick. That should run, go to run the script, except we don't know which one. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay. This is an interesting exercise because you have to kind of deal with a number of contingencies. So if I'm in other, right, I'm in other, and I'm flipping around, notice down here it says other, right, other. I'm going down here, other, bam, I'm in a physician. I'm a physician, but I'm on the other contact screen. This is a design problem. So if you combine different types of records within one table, because you have a reason for doing that, like you do a search, like I do a search over here, and I really want to be able to see the most predominant search in the organization will be a found set, and I don't care whether they're patients or doctors or other. I want to know everyone who's connected with skin disease, right? And I don't care whether they're doctors or patients. If that is the predominant search you're going to do, combining them into one table is fine, right? If you're predominantly going to search and you only want one group to come back, probably breaking them off in a different table is better. But this is what I was given. The customer is paying me $500 an hour because I'm the CEO. I'm very expensive, and I'm going to sit and work on this for Dan. Dan decided he wanted this way. I'm going to go, you sure, Dan? There's a reason I do this. He goes, do it, Richard, or I'm not going to pay you. I said, sir, yes, sir. I'm going to do it right away because I want to be paid, right? That's how that works as a developer. Ask Kyle Williams, right? He wants to be paid. He doesn't work for free. I don't blame him. So here's my problem as I flip through the control. Now, the other way to do this is try to get rid of status control, build your own control up here. The easiest thing to do is to have the system automatically detect what the kind of person is and direct you to the correct layout. So what we need to do is we need an on-record load script step, on-record load script step. So I'm going to go to script workspace, and I'm going to say, it's kind of a very similar script to this right here, right? Except that this is doing a find. So what I want to do is go to contacts. I'm going to create, I created a script right here that's empty. I'm just going to blank it out. So this is a script right here, create empty. It's called contacts on record load. So what I want to do is that when I'm over here and I'm in layout mode, I'm going to say script setup, script trigger. There's an on enter right here that does 201. I don't think 201 does anything useful. 201 decides if it's a mouse screen, does some other stuff like this. Status toolbar, change status area parameter, blah, blah, blah. We're not really using a mouse mode on this one. I'm going to disable this script. The rest of it seems like it's okay. It's not causing a problem. I think it's putting the name of the file into the window or something. Hides or shows the status tool error based upon the preset preference. Fine. So it runs 201 automatically when you come here for the first time, but I want a script that runs every time you flip a record, right? Every time I flip a record. So I'm going to come down here. I've got this script right here. I'm going to say I want it to run this one every time. So I come back over here, layout setup, script triggers, on record load. So load means that the local client is loading it from your perspective as a beginner. They're loading it down from the server and putting it on screen. Okay. The more tightly definition of on record load means it's loading into the interface for display on the computer. If you're a programmer, a deep programmer, that's what that really means. But it's loading up for display on screen. How about that? So on record load means on the record loading in FileMaker Pro for display on screen, or FileMaker Go, or WebDirect. It works on all three of those. So I'm going to say it's going to run a script. What script is it going to run? It's going to run a navigation script 3.0. So I got 2.3.02, so we'll probably rename that one here. I'll say it's going to run that script. I'm going to go to browse mode for now. And then I got 3.02 over here. And so what I want to do is I want to go to, I want this to be 3.03. So I don't have a 3.03. I'm going to put a 3.03. So now we call it 3.03. Cool. I changed it here. It changed automatically. It did not break the setting over here. FileMaker is smart enough to keep track of that. But one of the great reasons why we use FileMaker, you got a SQL Oracle, it doesn't do that. If you change it over here and don't change it somewhere else, you just break your, boom, it's gone, right? Oh, you should use SQL. It's so much better. Okay, you're going to spend a lot of time chasing errors down when you rename something. So in SQL, you better name it perfectly, correctly the first time, because FileMaker is very forgiving. Other systems, not so much. So I'm going to copy the code where I said, if it's this, go this way. If it's this, go this way. Well, we can just write it from scratch. Why don't we just do it that way? I was thinking about recycling the code, but it'd be simpler if I write it from scratch. So what did we do before? We said if. Now, the last time we said if, it was a script parameter. In this case, the record is loaded in the memory. I'm on that record. So now, anything I check right now in terms of the script, I'm on this record that I just flipped to, I navigated to. So I say if, and I say, I think it's type of contact. Type, it's a you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the dialog. A lot of times I just type in here and I can code it straight correctly. But if you want the calculation dialog, you're going to press a little FX right there. We're in contacts. I want the field called type of contact right there. If the type of contact equals type of contact, and this is where we have to put the equal sign in here, equals patient singular, it's going to do one thing. In fact, what should it do? It should go to layout, right? And we're going to go to patient, right? Whichever one that is. That's 300D as in Delta. Okay, so it does that, right? And once again, you could say end exit script, okay? Once again, I'm going to do it. I'm keeping it this way for beginners. It's an if and the end if right there. We tell it to X here because we don't want it, if it's successful in here, we want it to stop. We don't want it to keep running, okay? Very important. So now I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to put some empty white lines here. There's no penalty for doing that. It makes it easy to see. I'm going to say patient. I'm going to say physician. And then I'm going to come over here to the layout. I'll say the layout should be the physician layout. And then I'm going to duplicate a couple blank returns in there. I'm going to put other. And then I think we're done with this demo, and now it'll be question answer time. This should work correctly. Essentially, we've solved most of all of the problems that Dan has with this design for the most part. There we are. Okay, so now I'm here. I'm in physician, okay? I'm on physicians. Say I do a find for S. I happen to land on a physician. I have 62 records in here, but I don't know they're all physicians. This one here, in this case, a physician. So if I start flipping through, very painful, right? The other way to do this would be to put the type over here. I'm going to option drag it. I'll say, okay, it's a type. I'm going to lose the label. Click on it, make it a text object, or edit just a text field. I could put it over here on the side over here, like that. Go browse. So now you see these are all others right here. Oh, wait a minute, I'm in other. It's not working. We should have jumped layouts. What happened? What did we do wrong? Okay, so the first thing we need to know is did the script fire script workspace? So that's a good question. 302, 303. Did it fire if patient, if other? I don't think this thing fired would be my guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it beep. I'm going to put a beep in here so I know that it actually went here. Although I could turn on script debugger. That's the old way of script debugging. You see me go back to my old standbys. So if I go to the next record, I'm not hearing any beepy sounds at all. So I'll go to, oh, why is this a problem? Yes, thank you, Stu. Stu is there. I looked over there and Stu was the man with the plan. That trigger has to be added to all layouts on record load. Remember, it's only specific to a layout or the layout, and I applied it to one of them. Obviously not the physician's layout setup. Triggers on a record load has to be added here too. Has to be added. So we're going to go to 303. Now I'm going to go, so that was the first one. Here's the next one, patients. I don't know which of these I did. Layout setup, triggers, on record load. It's not on this one either. So it must be on the last one. 303. Okay. This one, I'm just going to do it just because It should be there. There it is. Okay, so now we're set. So if I go to browse mode, understand, I'm in layout mode. I'm going to go to browse mode. What's it going to do? It's going to load a record. So that script is going to fire immediately, even going from layout to browse mode. And I'm going to hear a beep. You probably won't hear the beep. I heard a beep, and it's on other. Okay, so now, oh, you notice that edit I made over here is not over here either, right? That's perfect. So let me go back. Because once again, you would probably have, the idea with this is that we design these layouts that are very customized for each of these groups, because the patient data is going to be different than what you're going to collect on a, so these are all others. So I'm just looking to scan my way through. There's a physician. So if I'm here, and then I flip forward a record with this, or I click on this, ooh, and I can do it up here too. Questions?
Yes, I'm going to ask the ones now. GTIR through a relationship would have better performance, wouldn't it?
What relationship? You could say, okay, GTRR is intellectually harder, and for scripting operations, I tend to try to not use it if I don't. Well, it depends on the scenario. You'll learn that if you really explicitly know what the contents of the find are, going there and performing a find is just about as fast. Okay, you're gonna have drops in performance when you're dealing with portals. GTR can be fine, but in this specific situation, there is no relationship. What relationship are we talking about? We have actually right now, we're not using any relationships with anything you've seen today from me. Not one, right? I mean, physicians are not related to others, not related to patients. Now, they very well could be when Dan is done. If he puts, like if we're on a physician over here, then on the physician screen, we would have patients and stuff like that on here. But we're not navigating that way, right? We're on the home screen. And from the home screen, there's no relationship. From this is the preferences table. If I go to layout mode and I show you the status, we're on the preferences table. We've talked about this. We're going to talk about today, but we're going to run out of time today. But we're on an area where there's no fundamental connection between where we're at and where we're going. So this script has to know that it's going to go hunt for a physician's and then go to that layout, right? And then actually it's somewhat redundant because it came here, we were on the correct layout, but then that on record load fired anyway, but it was so fast you don't even see it, especially in Pro and Go because the data is cached down. With WebDirect, it's probably going to add a little bit of slowness. It's a little bit redundant in that specific scenario right there. But I mean, this is a very educational exercise. There was at least two problems here. One was managing the found set on the one, and two was then say that you get in here and you flip around, like I do a search for everyone with the last name of A, I got physicians and I got a physician out there. So that as I'm flipping through, I'm being shown the correct screen of the data for that group of that person, right?
Could you use get script parameter value for the set field?
Say that again. So you do what?
Could you use get script parameter value for the set field?
So what you could do is you could capture yes, yeah. I was listen, I'm doing this very basically, but as an added level of cleverness, listen, this is what, for everyone, for you folks to be successful, what I just did, you kind of need to learn how to do the basics. There's all sorts of additional, I have a magical knob. If I have a magical knob here on top, I'm going to turn the magical knob. Magical knob is more clever. I got basic setting and more clever. I'm trying to keep it basic, but you could, if you were here, you could say, hey, I'm going to, we go back to here. Let's walk through it. We'll turn on the script debugger. You'll watch it happen. I'm going to press this button right here, script debugger. How come I don't see the script debugger? Script debugger. There it is. I'm in layout mode. Browse mode. Okay, here we go. Script debuggers. Oh, it's got, okay, the browse mode, when you're on the home patient screen, has an on-record load here. It does something. I think what it's doing, it does some maintenance when you hit the home screen here, okay? If I say patient, it's going to say, hey, we're going to call, we're in this file right here, call stack, but we're going to run this script, and the parameters right there. So then I step down. So then we had the word patience, right? You could have stuck the script parameter. You could have swapped it in there instead of hard coding patient. Okay. Once again, that's an extra magic trick. The more magic tricks I do, the less Dan will follow me. Dan, are you there? Can we unmute Dan?
Oh, he unmuted. So
I'm here.
Oh, there you
Can
go.
you hear me?
So yeah, so you understand the question was like, well, if I have pass in script parameter, this value right here, get script parameter is a patient. You could have stuck that over in here instead of hard coding patient in, right? So there's extra little magic tricks you can do to make it simpler. The more you do that, though, the harder it's for the person coming behind you to follow what you've done. Okay, it just is, right? The more tricks, or magic.
Yeah, this solves the issue.
Yeah, it solves most of your issues. You still have this one issue I will let play out. There's a couple questions that will pop up, but if you go to list view, what I would do is if I come back, I would just send it. What I would do is I would just send it back to, I wouldn't run a script. I would just send it back to any of the three, and then the on record will fire and auto redirect it. Does that make sense? So all you have to do is get it to one of the three layouts, and then those three, and then the on record load will fire again. Correct. And it will redirect you automatically. So if I hard code this, I say perform single step, which is always a bad idea. I'm going to say I want to go to layout. I'm just going to have it go to any of the three. I'm going to say physician, okay? Solve this problem. So I'm in physicians over here. Let me do a flip the found set. So I'm in physician. I click here. Oh, I didn't hear it run. It may not have run. That's interesting. I thought technically when you're changing a layout, but you're on the same base table, you're not loading the record. Huh, interesting. So if I go to, I'm going to flip the found set. Oh, see, it did it there. Flip the found set again. List view, flip the found set. Now I'm on a patient. If I hit this, oh, it did fire. There it is. So yeah, it auto redirects. Does that make sense? So it's a self-correcting kind of deal. So I sent it to physician, but here's other. Yeah. So all you have to do is all you have to do is, this is one of those deals where close is good enough, like grenades. Close is good enough. All you have to do is loft it into one of those three, then they're auto going to process that script 303 and direct to the correct one. There's no performance penalty really there because all three of the scripts are already in RAM memory. You're like, well, that seems wasteful. With WebDirect, it sucks because the server is going to have to do the work for you. But on Pro and Go, every time you load the layout, it saves the bits of the layout in cache on the computer. And so once I've loaded each of 300, once I've loaded these scripts or these layouts, they're all in memory. For it to call them up is instantaneous. There's no delay. It loads them right off the local hard drive, off the RAM flash memory of the computer. If it's in RAM, it's RAM. If it's on the drive, it'll load it off of, for me, a solid state drive that's on this machine. So there's no performance penalty by doing this. If you actually were doing something where it's going to load a layout for the first time and the server's in another country somewhere across the world, that might be a 20-second delay for that to come down.
What does flipping the found set do?
It just inverts it, right? You know, how could you do a 4G negative dive with a MiG 28 at 3 feet? Because I was inverted, right? No, that's what this is. All this does is if you have a found set, so let me do I have 504 records. What is so the found set right now is 504. If I invert it, no, that was not it. Where's the, I don't think the invert will work right here. Oh, it did. So whatever is not in your found set becomes your found set, and what is in your found set leaves, right? So if I say find everyone with the letter A, I got 27. Well, now if I want to omit that group, just flip it real quick with the omitted group, is you're taking your found set and you're not your found set and you're flipping them. You just hit that round circle and it inverts it. And you can go back and forth. It's binary. It's only one way or the other way. Okay. Well, let me say something about the solution we have, and then we'll round this up. We're a little bit late now. If I was building this the way that Dan is building it, I might rethink and put these into three different tables. because then you don't have to do the shenanigans of managing the found set and jumping the data entry screens. But it's a little bit more work a different way, right? We're going to cover that Friday. I'm here tomorrow. We're going to cover the next step. Friday, I won't be here. Michael will be here. He's going to take a module in FM's starting point. In fact, I need a vote real quick on that. He's going to either take the estimates or invoices module, and he's going to duplicate it and create purchase orders. He's going to show you how to take a module and not just chop it up, but to duplicate it and recycle it. Does that make sense what I said? So he could do one of two demos. He can take contacts and duplicate it and turn it into another person like patients, or do we want to take estimates and turn it into PO? So do you folks have a preference? I need a vote on this besides Dan, who would I'm sure prefer me show him how to do it with contacts. Do you have a, Goodity says PO. Okay, good. Goodity, I'm glad you're there paying attention. Purchase orders are a common request. That's why it comes up PO. All right, we'll do POs, okay? It's a little simpler from that standpoint. All you really have to do at the basic level is take the estimates, and you could relabel it, but we're going to go through the process of assuming you like estimates and you want to keep estimates. We're going to duplicate the table, relate the table. There's a specific sequence steps you do in a specific order to make it as with least work as possible, the less pain possible, so to do it as fast as possible. And so Michael's going to go through that with Margaret on Friday. So that's very exciting. So I think today was pretty productive. So any of you folks, Keith, Tim, Lonnie, Louie, Davids, Stu, any of you folks have questions or comments, shoot us an email to support@rcconsulting.com, and we're going to pick the conversation up tomorrow. See ya.